It was an absolutely beautiful sunrise this morning, and in retrospect I probably should have left my 8x10 camera out on the top of that dune last night and just left it in place for a sunrise shot, but I don't think I really felt very confident in the composition I shot, so I think that's the main reason I decided to pack it up. But in the background in the sky of that composition I had shot yesterday, the clouds would have been absolutely fantastic in the morning. There wouldn't have been any direct sunlight on the dunes, but the clouds look like cotton candy. But you know, just like anything, live and learn. I guess for today, my goal will be to get back out into the dune field again and to see if I can find a really clean composition out there. And right now there's only very limited clouds in the sky, and it's what's left from the crazy color this morning, but those clouds are all drifting off to the east. But off to the west there really isn't much in the way of clouds. But I do know that in a few days we're expected to have a chance of rain, so at some point we're gonna have some clouds streaming in here again, and maybe that could be this afternoon. I got everything packed up. I loaded some film this morning, and it's about time to head out to the dunes and see what I can find out there. I'm sure it would sound much cooler if I said that I had been, wandering around the dunes for hours and hours and hours on end and just trying to find just the exact spot where all the elements align, but that's not the case. It took me about 20 minutes from walking to my car to getting to the spot where I am right now. And this is an area I had been wanting to kind of check out, but turns out all the elements actually align quite nicely. So I set up a shot with my normal lens. I'm gonna have some kind of wavy, sandy lines in the foreground, which is something I think is kind of cool. I'm gonna have the dunes to kind of wrap around into the background, and I get all the side edges of the dunes, which is pretty nice, and then a couple of mountains in the background. There's not gonna be any clouds today. It's a barren blue sky, but I like the color blue, so I think that'll be all right. And also that means I'm gonna have that last bit of light where everything goes nice and orange and make some nice color contrast. This is kind of a cool spot. I feel good enough about this composition so that I'm probably gonna leave the camera overnight, and just in the freak chance there's clouds in the morning again like there was this morning, I'd have an opportunity to photograph that as well. Another thing I did here, which is something I actually do quite frequently now, is I used a rear movements on the camera, and that allows me to enlarge the background. So the dunes and the mountains will appear larger than reality, and also shrink the foreground, which allows me to have even more foreground in the shot, which should give some more of those kind of cool sand ripples. And I think that'll give the appearance of me using a relatively wide-angle lens, when in reality I'm using a normal lens. But it's been kind of cool hanging out here. Just absolutely quiet, no one out in the dunes today other than me, and looking forward to another hour or so till sunset and make my shot, then leave my camera here overnight. So let's hope everything goes as I hope they will. The light has come and gone, so I've made a few exposures as the last rays of sunlight were hitting the foreground dunes. And I started by doing actually a safety shot, which is where I made an exposure before the light started getting good. And just as a worst case scenario if something else goes wrong kind of a thing. And so I made that on Velvia 50. Then made 2 exposures on Velvia 50 as the light was getting really good. Did another one on Ektar 100. And then made one final exposure on Velvia 50 right as the last rays of light were hitting the dunes. So timing was good, there was no wind, which was good, so I don't have to worry about my camera shaking around. I think despite having no clouds in the sky, it still might be a pretty cool shot. I think the foreground and the light might be compelling enough to make it work. I'm gonna leave my camera in place overnight. Gonna come back to it in the morning, and just in case we get some sort of crazy epic sunrise like this morning, but I don't really think that's gonna happen. But it's actually easier for me to leave the camera here, which means I don't have to pack it up tonight and I can head back to camp for dinner. Tomorrow my goal is to see if I can find not only any other shots out here in the dunes, but with the idea of maybe getting a shot with my long lens, sort of an intimate dune type shot, and those are going to be kind of fun shots. And I've never taken one of those, and so I think that would be kind of cool. But probably spend the next at least couple days here because it's a pretty productive area for me. But it's nice. It's so quiet out here right now. I mean, other than the guy blabbing in front of the camera, but other than that, it's incredibly quiet and nice and calm out here, and looking forward to dinner.
If you love this content and want to help support my journey, you can do so by subscribing to my YouTube channel, telling a friend, or sending a contribution of just $24 a year via PayPal. I depend on the generous support of people like you to produce this ad-free content. Thanks in advance for your support.